The situation in Gaza is critical. For 2 months, food has been blocked, and Israel has been bombing again. And now Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he plans what he calls an extensive, intensive escalation of the war. He proposes Israel will take over and rule Gaza and relocate Palestinians in the south. Chad, I'm wondering, is this just a negotiating tactic in hopes that Hamas will come to the negotiating table?
I think it's a negotiating tactic in the sense that Donald Trump is the only global leader that Netanyahu will listen to, and he's traveling to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, I think, well, May 13th. And that very well could lead to increased pressure for a ceasefire. And when you're entering into those sorts of negotiations, you want to be in a position of strength, and so it behooves Israel to be in its strongest possible position right now. But, you know, make no mistake, I think that Israel's goal is the same now as it's been since October of 2023, which is to see the return of all the hostages and to destroy Hamas. So to kind of say that is it just a negotiating tactic? No, I think that's too dismissive.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, you know, I don't know. I'm speechless. I'm despondent. Every morning I wake up to pictures of dead children, like killed by Israeli bombs, and women killed by Israeli bombs. And we just keep pretending this is apparently a war that Israel has the right to fight to defend himself by violating all kinds of international law, right? Like Netanyahu is an international fugitive by ICC. He's a war criminal, right? ICJ has said it's an occupying power. And not only it's an occupying power, but it's an obligation to end this unlawful presence as rapidly as possible. Amnesty International, Jewish scholars, everybody is calling this a genocide, right? Happening in front of our eyes. And we keep pretending as if Israel is doing this to save themselves and it's a tactic. No, it's Israel's wish is to completely annihilate Gaza and drive out all the Palestinians against all international law. But might we be reminded, Israel exists because of that international law that it wants to itself undermine, right? And it is unilaterally threw away the ceasefire. If you look at any broad international media, they will say, yes, Israel unilaterally walked out from the ceasefire. Now, if there is no permanent ceasefire, there would not be any deal. And I'll ask our viewers to go and read Jeremy Scahill's excellent interview with the Hamas commander that came out in Drop Site News. You don't have to believe in anything. I don't like Hamas either, right? They are a terrorist organization in many ways. But it is important to understand what people are saying and how ceasefires work. And what you see is at this moment that Israel is intransigent. It doesn't want to walk on the path of the ceasefire, but you know, at the end of the day, this idea of destroying Hamas, Hamas cannot be destroyed any more than a movement for justice, liberation, like in South Africa, in India, and other places could have been destroyed. So what Israel is doing is unconscionable, and the Western media should be ashamed of it.
Tara, do you think this plan will help get those hostages back?
I think it will, simply because Hamas will have no choice. But my question is, will Hamas actually give them over, or will the hostages come back? Because in essence, you know, most of the Hamas fighters are dead, and this is what's left of the hostages.
Yeah, and I think some facts need to be outlined too for context. That you have 3 separate terrorist organizations, all backed by Iran. Hezbollah has been effectively neutralized for the most part by Israel. Hamas is still an issue, obviously, in Gaza. And then you have the Houthis, who just attacked Israel, that sparked this whole conversation that we're having about Israel going back into Gaza. All 3 of these terrorist organizations are backed by Iran, following orders from Iran, getting supplies by Iran. And that's where this is coming from. So to try to make Israel the bad guys because they're trying to protect themselves from 3 terrorist organizations is not an accurate depiction of what's occurring.
Yeah, this kind of canard we are hearing for again and again. This is just so mind-blowingly useless thing to say, just, you know, you are doing this for the security. You cannot violate international law for your own security. This is just I don't know. I have nothing to say after this.
Let me pivot and say that I think Netanyahu is miscalculating in that one of my concerns is that Hamas is like the Hydra of Lerna. If you cut off its head, two more will grow in its place. And it might be solving the short-run problem of eliminating Hamas, but he's not winning the hearts and minds of people like Anirban. And I think there's a real concern that in the long run there will be more terrorists.
Like, I am matterless, but it's hundreds of countries around the world also, right? Israel is cornered. It's basically propped up by some Western forces. And people will see through this. The Jewish people are marching the streets, and we will see what happens in the future.